I don't know where you stand on it. Is he coaching for his job, as Greg Bedard reported?
I
or
don't believe he is.
Is he locked and loaded and ready to go and burn some cash next season?
Who's the biggest loser at this point? I agree with Wiggy. I don't think he gets fired. But who is the biggest loser at this stage through their bye week of this Patriots season?
The biggest loser?
Yeah.
Meaning out of
like who looks the worst? Who has had the most damage to what we thought they would be? Who is
Robert?
I agree.
You think it's Robert?
Yeah.
I agree.
I was going to say Elliot Wolf.
I guess you. But then people will be like, "Well, Robert hired him." So, I could go. You could easily sway me to say.
I mean, Robert bumped him up.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could easily sway me.
Bill hired him.
Yeah, you could easily sway me to say Elliot Wolf.
I would say the options are Robert, Mayo, Elliot Wolf. For me, another one, DeMarcus Covington, a guy that we thought was going to be something.
No.
And, Alex Van Pelt was there for a while, but I feel like recently he's been sort of one of the brighter spots.
Yeah, I would say a lot of people would either lean towards Elliot Wolf or Robert.
Well,
Kraft.
if Gerard Mayo is there to stay, at least for next season, as you are suggesting, and you were him, where would you make changes when it came to your coaching staff?
Ooh.
Would you stick with Alex Van Pelt?
You know what?
Because then you have that issue of Drake May and adding another coordinator his second season.
I would probably roll the dice with the guys I got, and
you would,
and I would be more
even DeMarcus Covington.
Yeah, and I would be more aggressive in free agency and getting players, and saying, okay, DeMarcus, is it you or is it we don't have the talent? And then I would give these guys one more season, and then if not, then obviously you would have to make the changes after that.
Yeah, I think Covington is gone. I think that's the way that Gerard Mayo can keep accountability with the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if it's him. I think Alex Van Pelt is here. I think Gerard Mayo is here. I think Brian has gone to UNC. And I know they have to spend money, but this is a huge offseason. And I just don't have faith in Elliot Wolf. Even if Robert says, here's a blank check, do you guys have faith that he's going to find the right people? I don't. Their draft was an abomination. Drake May fell in their lap.
Right.
They had no other choice. It was the only quarterback left. Obviously, Scheim loved him and a lot of people did, but I don't give them credit for sitting there and taking him.
Right, but it's not
like I think Baker and Polk combined have like 87 yards. Like I think they missed in a lot of areas when it came to the draft.
I would tend to agree, but unfortunately, I don't know that the Crafts view it that way. I think Elliot Wolf is more safe than Gerard Mayo, specifically because of Drake May.
That would be so asinine.
I agree. I think it's dumb. I think it's stupid, Curtis, because you're right. The rest of the draft class stinks so bad, but I think they will give him credit for Drake May, which is wrong because, as you pointed out, he fell in their laps. They literally fell into him.
And you have to look at it in this way. If you're if you're the front office guy, or you're sitting there with Robert and you're sitting there with Elliot Wolf. All right, so it's simple. Do we believe we're going to win another game all season long? And if you lean towards no, then there's a chance you're going to be in the top 3, right? Maybe even close to number 1. Now it's, do we trade back to pick up more picks and utilize those picks for potential capital to trade for a potential player? Or do we use those picks to just add more, go and draft more players? Because free agency, it's simple with the wide receiver. It's really Tee Higgins, right? So do you like Tee Higgins or not?
I would say that just a quick note on the draft. Yesterday I saw the first mock of the year. Scheim went 6 to midnight and then went right back down.
I've seen like 5 of them. It's been great.
So do you know who the hot pick is for the Patriots at 3?
That Tetaroa McMillan, I saw a couple places.
In Field Yates's, it was Scheim's most overrated of all time, Travis Hunter.
Of course.
So
that'd be a dumb pick for the Patriots.
But he should be a lock when it comes. What you need is you've got to get somebody who can catch the football.
Yeah, but he's not the best receiver in the draft. He's not the best receiver or the best corner in the draft. He shouldn't be going before any other receiver or corner. Will Johnson out of Michigan is better at corner, and Ted McMillan is way better at receiver.
But he'll be a corner in the NFL. That's where, if you watch him play, he's more of a naturally gifted corner, unless he makes the decision and unless he says, I want to play wide receiver in the NFL and I'll learn to run routes, then that's what he'll do. I think the biggest so that's the conversation. And I guess if you look at the teams that are around New England, Vegas, they're ahead of New England right now. They need
a quarterback.
Right. They want Shedeur.
The Patriots, effectively, if the season ended today, Wiggs, they would basically have the first pick because it's going to go Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. So you'll be sitting there at 3.
Right.
And if I'm the Patriots, I pull a card out of the Belichick book and I trade back. Because I agree with Scheim, Travis Hunter, maybe not overrated to the extent that he says, but you have so many holes that you need to fill. And he's not the best receiver. He's not the best cornerback, and you don't need another cornerback.
Normally, I'd agree, Curtis, but as you pointed out, I don't trust Elliott Wolf to actually find talent. So I would rather them just take the best player available, which would be at the positions you need, are either Will Campbell out of LSU or Ted McMillan out of Arizona. I would rather them just try and fall into another really good player than risk trading back and just drafting a bunch of crap.
But what I would do is,
then you're fixing the O-line in free agency in your mind.
Yeah, unless you take Will Campbell, right? If you take Will Campbell out of LSU, he's a left tackle. There's your left tackle. Boom. You add a guard in free agency, and hopefully maybe you strike a deal with Tee Higgins.
Well, I'm the Wiggins plan, Wiggins Curtis, if we can co-sign it. I would trade back, get the teams first that you're trading back with, plus a first in the next year's draft, which should be fair.
Right.
And you use one of those to get Tee Higgins.
Well, Tee Higgins.
But how does Tee Higgins' girlfriend feel about the weather here?
Or who is Tee Higgins will be a free agent? Well, then sign Tee Higgins and use it for Debo.
Debo, he's a potential.
Right.
Debo's a potential guy. There's some issues going on in Philadelphia with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts.
And he always wanted to play for the Patriots. That video has been circulating.
And granted, the moonshot is Jamar Chase, but you'd say you can't get him. The question becomes, if you're sitting there at number 3, and the two teams ahead of you both take quarterbacks, it's really to what Scheim's saying. Is Tetero and McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona, is he a legit plug-and-play potential franchise wide receiver? Same with whoever the offensive lineman is, because there's been some talks of the kid from Texas.
Kelvin Banks.
Yeah, so they Joe Alt type plug play. This guy can hold that position down for the next 10 years. Or do you feel like we could get somebody like, maybe we could get a guy in free agency that's already an established offensive lineman and get Tee Higgins, trade down, and then pick up some multiple picks to add?
You brought up during your lead this morning what Bill has to do legacy-wise when it comes to the point that he can get to in college. Mm-hmm. How many games do they have to win next year for Jerod Mayo's job to be secure?
Next year, I think next year he has to be a legitimate playoff contender, right? And he's going to know that based on what happens in free agency. If they don't add any pieces, then he basically knows he's dead man walking, because you're not going to run it back with kind of like the same cast of characters, and maybe you add like minimal pieces here and there and think that you're gonna be able to compete for a playoff spot, right? If you don't get Drake May a legitimate weapon, aren't you just wasting another great year where you want to see, like, okay, what does this kid, even if it is the kid out of Arizona, what does this kid look like with a top 5 wide receiver? What does he look like with Tee Higgins?
This is Walter from Boston. What's up, Walter?
Hey, Tee Higgins should be free next year, because the year that Chase is having, they're gonna have to pay him. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be like we're saying, it's gonna be if Kraft pays the money for this guy, and it's like, Shine's right. If they anyway draft Tee Higgins and get that kid from Arizona, your whole all you have to worry about in free agency is offensive line and adding to the defense because it'll be a game changer. But you guys, the thing I really want to call about, you guys got to understand what Bill's going to be like against them young quarterbacks in the ACC. In the transfer portal, they're showing in this contract that they're going to give like $20 million towards NIL for North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to do it. Dion doesn't go in living rooms. Bill doesn't have to do that. His name alone is going to bring. Think if you're a 4 or 5 star guy and you're in the transfer portal now and you're a defensive player, what it's going to be. He said he's going to be a pipeline to the NFL. I'm a Florida State guy, and I'm scared to death, man. You guys have a good day.
Yeah, I think, it shows us two things. I think I got two things from this. Bill, it wasn't about the Shula record. It's really about coaching, right? Yeah. And then the second thing I look at is I think Bill is going to be big in the transfer portal because he's going to look and go, I can get those guys to come in that have, maybe have some experience, that are a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and can handle some of the things that I'm going to present to them rather than have to maybe waiting for a high school kid who it might take him, a year or two before it clicks.
But you said, remind me in your lead, if they're not in the bracket
playoffs
at some point,
yes, then
it harms his legacy.
It's not that it's going to change his legacy and how we view him, but it's going to. And I heard Jones and Keefe talking about this, and Curtis always brings it up, and he's right. Brady is winning big when it comes to the Bill Brady conversation.
Ken Laird finally and at last tweeted a capitulation. Chris Curtis officially wins when Bill Belichick signed with North Carolina.
Ken, you are.
Sure are, Kenny. Thank you, James.
And so if now that he's at UNC, if he's able to get that team into the playoffs, people will then look and go, even if he doesn't even win a national championship or even gets there, people will be like, wow, look what Bill was able to do with, a couple years of turning around a basketball school.
Right.
And getting them into the college football.
Right, he'll
playoffs.
be like Dion.
He'll be like, and people will be like, yeah, I mean, even though he didn't win one and he didn't win another Super Bowl, look what he was able to do in college to a program. So that will elevate his status and I know it's a stupid thing, but the Brady v. Belichick will elevate his status, and now he won't be so far behind Brady.
But if he goes there and is somehow able to win a national championship in the next 5 years,
yes,
then you look at he and Tom Brady as being equal in what they accomplished after.
What? I think they'll be.
So if Brady goes and wins a high school championship, it's the same?
No. National.
Greg, take it, buddy. It's okay. It's over.
I mean,
he was locked out of the NFL for 2 years.
Curtis, that is an also-ran program down there. They get 5,000 people at a football game. If he's able to turn it around.
If you can win a natty.
If you can turn it around. Basketball is, Wiggy's right. Football's can you still say red-haired stepchild?
I guess you could.
I mean, if he's able to turn that thing around interest-wise.
If you win a natty.
That's a huge accomplishment, Curtis.
If Bill wins a natty.
Like going to the losingest franchise in NFL history and winning a Super Bowl in your first year.
But think about that. That's what it would kind of represent. You went to a college that is not even on the football landscape and was able to win a national championship. There will be people that have the conversation where it's like, okay, that is something that not many people could say they did that.
Right.
That's
legacy cementing right there.
Right.
All right.